Also check out my new gaming channel Sol V. Thank you.
Literally just happened, so I decided to come on /x/. Writing joke about ghosts sitting in chairs. Writing in the dark. Look at chair. Notice a black outline in my chair that isn't part of my chair. Nearly shit my pants. The chair turns around. Realize I have window open, so it was probably the wind. Still try to give the black outline a right hook. Still scared. Feeling like I'm sitting in a ghost.
Well, there's a bunch of stuff. I remember being deathly afraid of a specific corner of the basement. It was divided in two halves with a wall. The right part was where the stairs leading up were. There was a bathroom there, and my father had a workroom there too. It was mostly one huge living room though. The left part was accessed through a door. There was the room where we kept the PC, which my mom also used as a sort of office, and one massive room which was pretty much used as a place to put everything which didn't fit anywhere else in the house, the sewing machine, the huge freezer, the second fridge, etc. When I was a kid, the toys were kept there. My father eventually built a bedroom at the end of it. The corner which I was afraid of was at the very end of that left portion of the basement, where my father would eventually build a bedroom. Whenever I left the basement, I could swear I saw dark shapes coming from there. When I played late on the PC, if I looked out the door into the dark, I always got freaked out because it always seemed like there was movement there. I remember that in that very spot, I used to have this big-ass wooden box where my toys were stuffed. I used to have nightmares as a kid where I would go to the basement stairs, then something would grab me and pull me towards the toy box super fast. The toy box would open as I got close. I would get pulled in and everything would go dark and I'd wake up screaming then. At least once, I went to bed and woke up in the toy box in the morning. Anyway, a few years later, I was talking to my mom about how I was always scared of the basement, and she told me no, it started when you were 3. One night, there was a huge booming sound, and in the morning, the foundation was cracked in a corner of the basement. You were scared of the basement afterwards. I asked her if the crack had been where my toy box was, and she answered yes. How do you remember that?
Watching documentary. Doctor says spooky skeleton is inside everyone. No, can't get thought out of my head. What if skeletons are real?
When I moved into this new apartment. First week. Sleeping with my girlfriend. I woke up in the middle of the night's amenity standing a foot away from the bed on my girlfriend's side. It was standing directly in front of the closet door looking over us. I made out an old woman. I tried to wake my girl, but she was wrapped in a cocoon of blankets. By the time she woke, the entity was gone. 2 years later, and I've seen nothing since. Maybe it was curious because we're new, but decided we were no threat.
Some more weird stuff. Every time I would leave the basement, when I turned off the lights and went up the stairs, I could see shadows moving in the other half of the basement. At least one incident where I saw a shadow person in the kitchen. Mom swears she saw the ghost of the previous owner's wife just before she electrocuted herself, would have died if my older brother hadn't been there to knock her off the outlet. Constant scratching from the closet below the stairs. Both dogs we had while we lived there refused to go downstairs with us after dark.
I don't know if it's a power or just weird luck, but here we go. Be me a year ago. Sitting in living room with 2 roomies playing Halo. About 3 AM I kinda stop playing for a few seconds and zone out. I stand up after the zone out and say I have to pack, my grandmother just died. I end up packing up even though there was no reason to actually think she died. Get called at 7 the next morning. It was my mom telling me my grandmother died at 3 earlier that morning and I needed to pack and come home. I have some more weird feeling stories like that if you guys care.
B21. No car because can't afford insurance and rent. 19 years old coworker lives not too far away with vehicle. Both interested so she doesn't mind dropping me off when I buy dinner. Going down interstate talking about whatever. She asks why I tend to push people away. Try to dodge question, doesn't work. Explain weird shit always happens to me and don't like exposing others to it unless I know they can handle it. Asks for examples. Tell of when a random guy pulled up to me at a stop sign and barked/snarled like a dog for about 10 seconds then drove off. Tell of when walked away from a car wreck where the other driver and all witnesses thought he killed me without injury. Tell her if she's serious about a relationship with me she needs to prepare for this regularly. Says it's fine. Less than 5 seconds later. She slams on the brakes. There's a car completely destroyed spread across all 5 lanes. Looks like a bloody massacre with car parts everywhere. Driver sitting on what I'm assuming was the hood. Paramedics not there yet. Girl calls cops, they send medics and cops. Cops come ask us what we know, tell us driver is fine and we can leave. She's flipping out because the car oil looked like blood all over the road. Try to calm her down, get her talking about hopes/aspirations. It works. She notices I'm completely unfazed by the event once we reach my place. Tell her like I said this shit is normal in my life and that's why I don't really get close to people. She quits work a few days later, moves across town, screens my calls and texts, and is extremely nervous whenever we bump into each other in public. She couldn't handle it.
Can anyone tell me what happened here? B 2 days ago. Having deja vu the whole week. That day it's strong, like 4 cases of it. Have another deja vu but then I remember what happens afterwards. Predict the next 15 seconds of convo and events that happen. Help me.
Be like 14. Staying at a friend's house overnight, couldn't get a ride home for his birthday party. Fall asleep on the couch. Wake up to the sound of the dog barking. Don't give a shit what the dog is barking at, screw the dog. Dog keeps barking. Still barking. Fine, screw you dog, I'll look up idiot. See apparition phasing through wall. Nope, out of the room. Every other time the dog has started barking at the same time, about 4 a.m., but I've been in a different room.
Various years ago when I was young. Go back home after high school. All lights are off. Nobody greets me. Assume nobody is at home again. Old brother must be hanging out again. Mom working late again I guess? Don't care for anything, exhausted as hell, I had a shitty day. I decide to go straight to my room and sleep. I turn the lights of my room off. While in bed I get a little horny and I start to fap, nobody is in home anyway. About 15 minutes into my business I get really uncomfortable. Get the sensation that someone is watching me. Try to ignore it and continue to masturbate. Can't shake off the sensation. Then I saw a figure standing still at the door of my room, which I forgot to close. Can't make out at the moment what it was because of the darkness. Got so scared that my diamond rod turned into a banana stick in a matter of seconds. Fell off the bed, noped as hell. On the floor, finally can make out what the hell it was. It was my aunt. She was standing, in movie belay, watching me like in pic related. Aunt? What? From there she just goes to the kitchen without saying anything and starts making dinner. I'm too embarrassed and still scared to say anything too. We later eat together but don't talk in the entire night. We also don't make eye contact. When mom comes home they greet, but quickly goodbyes afterwards. Bark at mom about not letting me know that aunt was going to be in home. Didn't notice the note mom left at the kitchen because I went straight to bed.
Be me, 1 week ago. Walking late in college with 6 friends. We arrived to big ass open parking lot in front of college to get to our house. We are all roomies in a big ass house for 10 ppl. We see a hooded thing throwing bloody cat heads at cars and some landed in our 2 cars. We called security, they said run away to the college buildings. Hooded thing starts fast walking away in a weird way. 2 of my friends open their cars and take out baseball bats, some of them belong to baseball team. We all arm up, only 2 want to follow Hoodie, the others follow them just in case they get injured. We follow him to a dead end, and when the 2 macho morons charged to attack, shit got horrible. Hoodie made a horrible scream or cry and removed Hood and started climbing with claws the wall. He had empty white eyes and some kind of skin in the back that looked like wings but useless. It reached the top, saw us, spitted it at us, laughed and just walked away on the rooftops. We went to the cars and around 15 policemen were waiting. They asked few questions and accompanied us home. 2 patrols stayed outside. We started a party and never talked about it or understood what happened.
Be 8 years old. Have rocking horse in living room. One day I tear off its tail just 'cause I'm a kid. Every night after that I have a dream. I woke up, have to go to the bathroom. Living room is between my room and bathroom, so I need to got through it. There is a black wolf standing in the room waiting to strike me. Jumps on my back. Can't see anything, but I can feel terrible pain in my lower back. Pain is so horrible, usually wakes me up. This continues for 2 years, parents don't give a damn. If I sleep in their room it kills me there. If I went to camps it never appeared in my dreams. Be 10 years old. Tired of this stupid wolf. Kill it in dream with my bare hands, throwing it on the wall. He appears in my dream only 2 more times next to night. Never appears again. 20 years old now. Rocking horse is in my aunt's home as a gift to her kids. I don't have contact with them, so can't ask if they ever had dreams. Still anxious when thinking about it.
Two times. B11. Mom died 2 years ago. Talking to my awesome stepmom. She is making lemonade. Dad walks in and kisses her. 2 seconds later the glass pitcher flies off the fridge. Almost hits my stepmom, but she moved. I'm positive my mom tried to kill her. Second. B13. Fall all asleep. Lose control of body. Stand up, walk out room totally naked. Embarrassing as hell next morning. Walk into living room with my family in it. I say we need to get out of here, they are going to come. Walk back to bed. Wake up next morning. Hey dad, I had a weird dream yesterday. Yeah kid, you must have, you came out here last night talking about stuff coming. Freak out. JPG. Sister's hot friend saw my dick. Not that large, flaccid. Latter still freaks me out and confuses me because nothing has come yet.
Be me, working as a carer for elderly people back in 2012. There's an old lady, I'm gonna call her V for anonymity. She's got dementia, but she's a sweet old lady, great sense of humor. Spend hours chatting to her. She tries to play pranks on me and is always teasing me. She has periods of lucidity, but most of the time she's pretty loony. Get sick with flu and go off work for 2 weeks. Weekend before I'm due back to work, I'm sitting in the living room in my armchair watching TV. GF is in the kitchen making lunch, about midday. GF usually comes and leans on the back of my chair to chat to me and watch TV over my shoulder. Hear footsteps coming into the living room, my dog bustles after them panting excitedly. Dog comes up beside my chair and is looking behind my head all excited, tail wagging like she's waiting to play. Feel someone right behind me, breathing against the back of my head. Think it's GF trying to wind me up, so I say I know you're there. GF's voice from the kitchen, what did you say? I can't hear you. Literally shit enough bricks to build the Great Wall of China. Find out later that V died roughly around midday that Saturday. I think it was V coming to see me and play a final prank. I'll never know.
About 10, early 2000s. Live with parents, they'd both left for work. Eating breakfast at table. Can see straight into my bedroom. Looks like a person standing on my bed, the blanket covering it. Keep eating cereal. Go to put bowl in sink. Come back, door is closed. Open door, mattress is turned on its side. Freak out, play with footy at park for 7 hours. Nothing else ever happens.
Be me in 1999. Living in gas station I work at in basement/boiler room because homeless. Kind of crappy, middle of nowhere. For the camping crowd with showers and nice bathrooms. About to close, start going and checking shit before lock up. Hear something in the ladies' restroom. Yell if there's anyone in there and that I'm gonna lock up and shit so they need to hurry up. No answer. Wait a minute in case I throttled their shit feng shui/scared them. Go to check it out finally. Find a closed stall in the middle, look under briefly to see if there's feet. Nothing there, open the stall with coin, go to lock up. On way down to boiler bedroom deluxe. Hear noises again, spoop to Sunday. Go to ladies' bathroom again, same stall closed and locked. What the hell? I left and slept behind Burger King, no way was ghost death happening to me. It didn't happen again, though, which is creepier.
Backstory, GF's summer house in the middle of nowhere. Not a lot of people around, nothing weird ever happened before. At that night we went to an old, weird abandoned house nearby, peeking through windows trying to get in. One building had boarded windows, place was creepy as shit. We tried to get in when we hear a loud thud from inside the boarded house. Left the place in a hurry, walked back joking about spirits and murderers who stay there and are gonna follow us now. Little did we know. B last week. Stayin' at GF's summer house her mom and sis. It's an old wooden house, we sleep in our own room upstairs. All the doors are unlocked cause in the middle of nowhere. Wake up in the middle of the night to our room door opening, it makes a distinct sound when opened, you need to unlatch it. Pitch black in the opening, wasn't open very much. Feel someone looking at me from the opening. The door closes really slowly. Makes absolutely no sound at all. No footsteps or any other sounds going away from the door, and in that house you can hear every step. Someone standing behind it. Stay still and listen for what feels like forever. Start with King hard, not saying anything cause don't want to alarm GF. 5 minutes later start hearing weird little sounds all over, like someone slowly moving around the house. Definitely not sleeping anytime soon. The sounds go on for 30 to 60 minutes. GF wakes up too. Agrees it's really strange and creepy, there's no reason anyone would come to our room in the middle of the night, hears the sounds too. In the morning we asked about it, no one had been up that night, GF's sister heard the sounds too, and we heard GF's mom coughing in her room at the time of all the creepiness. My face when it was a ghost. My face when it was aliens. My face when there was a stranger in our house watching us sleep. My face when it was the murderer/spirit from the abandoned house paying us a visit.
Move into new house. Brother is a psychic medium and I'm not. Instant feeling of dread by both of us as we enter the house. Air is really heavy and always want to turn around and see if someone is there. Brother has his friends over few weeks later. Girl screams. Sees figure at the top of the stairs. No such thing as ghosts, some dude says. Door next to him is closed. Door handle moves on its own. Door opens on its own. Door closes on its own. Shit.
A little backstory. I was dicking around with my friends up in Alaska and we came on each other and then we came upon a house that was obviously abandoned. We kicked down the door and just started rustling through everything. Old typical piece of shit house with remnants of parties and the last owners. We climbed a ladder up to the second floor and we saw a purse and some books about witchcraft and stupid shit like that. Only book that stood out was a book about masks. I opened up one of the books and of course I opened it up to the only pentagram in the entire book. 2S Spoopy for me. Convince friends to explore behind the house. We do, and then we hear a loud deep voice shouting at us to get out. I'm the only male of the group and I was the first one who bolted, so the girls followed. Alpha Molly. GIF. This experience slightly screwed me, but no big deal, I just won't sleep. Either it was sleep-deprived hallucinations or really spoopy shit. I start seeing a solid white Slenderman figure, but he isn't quite as tall. Fits his description perfectly except everything about him is white, but the buttons on his suit which is black. See him once when I'm coming out of my bathroom standing on the back porch staring at the sun rise, or at least I thought he was. Honky starts to turn his shoulders to my direction and I nope the hell back to my bedroom. 24 hours later, same deal except I see him walking away from a window and his hands were like the rakes except not nearly as long. Same deal, same setting. Go to the bathroom and my reflection is the white Slenderman creature. Nope, shit, then stare at myself for a little bit. This is where it gets really messed up. I hear the door to my garage open and the little pitter-patter of small feet scurry across the floor. I nearly shat myself for the second time. No one can get in my garage without having to be a savant at picking locks and someone destroying deadbolts and such. I pretend it didn't happen and go back to my room and try to fall asleep. I hear the footsteps again and my door creaks open a smidge. I hear the creaks of my floorboards as the thing walks to my bed. I try to possum as best I could. It sits on my bed. The depression that it left was like the biggest land whale compressed to about a foot wide. Bolt up and say, what the fell, let's go. I'm white and I still have no idea why I said that. I hear frantic footsteps out and my door opens a little more. My front door is slammed open. I nope forever and always. I have a few more stories, but nowhere near as unbelievable. Another story that happened before all this. Probably predates all those activities about 3 years. Me B8. Playing some vidya and need to go outside and take a piss. I'm in Alaska and it's dark as hell at night, so you can do whatever you want. Pull dick out and it shrinks to the size of a pinto bean. Start pissing. Look around just to make sure nobody is staring at me. See a shadow man that looks like Goku leaning on a tree staring at me. Has on glowing eye and he's in the shade so the moon couldn't be doing it. Keep eye contact until I'm done peeing and nope to bedroom leaving everything on. Try to go to sleep, but can't because I'm still scared. Hear my door open. Try to play it off like nothing happened. Get the urge to look at my door. I see a shadow coming up from the top of my door and being projected on my ceiling. I have no idea what the hell is going on at this point. It looks like the shadow of a gray, but why is it at the top of my door? As soon as I'm about to get up and check that shit out, it bolts out of there. I assumed it did anyway. Also, going back to my first story. All my friends experienced seeing the white slender/rake. My fat friend saw it in her room in her mirror. He was just standing in her doorway staring at the mirror. She probably shit her pants. My other 2 friends say they saw him twice, and the first time was when someone knocked on the door at around 12 a.m. They saw a tall guy with a solid white suit and face and freaked the hell out. Next night they saw him walking around the house. After all that, nothing really happened. Kind of want to know what all that was, but I don't really want to know. If any /x/file has any idea, I would love to hear what you think it was. Or help explain why a shadow figure watched an 8-year-old piss. Going back to the second story. The place he was standing on was covered in about 3 feet of snow. There wasn't any footprints when I checked the next day. Not even a disturbance in the snow anyway near that place. And again back to the first story. I never told my friends about Slender Bro. I experienced the pitter-patter incidents when I stopped seeing him. He was probably a pretty chill guy.
Live in the middle of nowhere. Best friend over for the day and most likely night. Giant forest on a giant hill behind a giant cornfield behind my house with ATV trails and nothingness. Bored with nothing better to do, we go exploring. There isn't any no trespassing signs, so we figured we were safe to venture as we pleased. About an hour into the woods we find a small path, not a paved one but one that looks like it's used as a shortcut. Decide to see where it leads. After a few minutes of walking through dense trees and tall grass we find a small log cabin. What the hell, didn't know anyone had anything like this set up all the way up here. Nearest ATV trail was a half-hour away. Friend is feeling brave, I'm not, but peer pressure gets the best of me. We walk forward to investigate the small cabin. By now we notice it's really old and there's not a single window on it. Just a door. It's about the size of your average bedroom. All of a sudden we hear a loud grunt. Friend and I look at each other with pupils larger than Gobbin's nipples. Start to run back towards where we came from when an old man opens the door to the cabin with force. Don't look back but can hear him chasing us. After like 5 minutes of running through the dense forest we don't hear anything else behind us, so we head back toward my house scared as hell. Brush it off as some mad, drunk hunter. After a few hours of video, friend and I walk outside and notice a path in the cornfield that we didn't make.
Laying in bed. Have an old change jar. Heavy as shit, been putting change in it since I first started working 13 years ago. First week in my new apartment. Get woken up to what sounds like someone grabbing a handful of change and dropping it back and get up, wide-eyed. The lid is lying on the ground next to the jar. Turn every light on and sleep with the TV on in the living room. I used to be only able to sleep in pitch black with no noise, but I've been sleeping on the couch with the TV on now most of the time. I don't go in the bedroom unless there's still light out, or I get really drunk and don't give a damn and pass out in there. Another night. Be sleeping. Sleeping for about an hour and I wake up to something cold and wet on my feet. The foot of the bed is soaked. Wasn't sweating and didn't piss the bed, lol. Strange.
Just found this one from another thread. Not my but still good. Live in small rural town out in the bush. Be 16 during teen stoner phase. One Friday night me and some mates meet up at the local school to have a few cones. Prepping the bong, when what sounds like an explosion goes off somewhere in the school, realize someone's actually setting off a shitload of fireworks from somewhere in the school. We're all about to bail, but one of the guys spills about $50 worth of weed into the grass. We spend about 10 minutes trying to pick up all the stuff, almost at the entrance when we see 2 police cars coming into the school car park. Heart stops for a second and we all freak the hell out. We try to get hide but they've already seen us and are getting out of their cars and running into the school. In the panic I get split up from my 2 mates and end up jumping the school's back fence and sprinting into the bush along an old hiking track. One of the cops comes after me. I can see his torch shining through the trees. After a while he gives up and it's just me in the pitch black. My phone at the time was some old Nokia brick and its screen is my only source of light. Don't want to go back, so I just follow the track and keep heading into the bush. Was about 9 p.m. when the fireworks went off, and it's now almost 11 p.m, so I've been wandering through the bush for about 2 hours. Get to end of track and there's a stream. I think it flows back into town, so I start following it. So this is where the whole experience became even worse. As I'm following the stream I begin to hear voices in the distance, just really faintly like they're really far away. It kinda sounds like they're singing. Kinda hoping that if I follow the creek I'll pass the creepy singing. By this stage the cops and fireworks seem like a distant memory, but the voices are making me really uneasy and I'm realizing that the creek is taking me closer to them rather than further away, but it's my only guidance so I have to follow it. As I get closer, the singing is getting really loud and I can start to make out lights in the distance. By this stage I realize that the singing is actually what sounds like a group chant or something, but it's super intense to the point where at some stages it almost sounds like people screaming. As I follow the stream, the lights become brighter and I can make out a few houses in a clearing through a distant tree line, but I haven't reached the town yet. This appears to be just a random group of houses in the middle of the bush. Then I realize where I am, and that I've been following the wrong stream and am now heaps far from town. I remember that recently my dad and some of his co-workers were up in arms about some new Christian commune which set themselves up in the area. My parents referred to it as the cult and that we should all stay away from there. So now I'm feeling really creeped out, but I realize that the road out of the commune leads back to the main road, so I follow the tree line around the edge of the clearing to try to get to the exit. Then the central area of the commune comes into view. They've got a massive bonfire set up and there's a crowd gathered in the center, still doing their fanatical chanting. From this distance I can clearly hear what they're saying, but it's not in English, which just makes it ominous as hell. By now my heart is racing. In the absence of the chanting I can easily make out the pleading and crying of the 3 girls at the center of the crowd. 3 guys come up to the girls and start tearing their clothes off, throwing them into the fire as they do so. As they do this, the crowd starts going feral at the girls, screaming, "Hose," and such. By now the girls are screaming and begging for help. I feel like I should do something, but I'm frozen in fear and too much of a pussy to do anything. By this stangy I'm almost crying in fear. I feel like I'm about to witness murder. The crowd is taking turns beating these naked girls, just kicking and hitting them while they're laying in the fetal position. Some old hag with a cane is really getting into it, screaming names at them while she does it. Another has heated her stick in the fire and is now poking one of the girls with it. The worst part was the screaming. I cannot describe with words the horrible feeling you get when listening to someone screaming in agony. As horrible as it sounds, I realize that this is my chance to get away. I follow the tree line and head towards the exit. The screaming and angry shouts of the crowd are still booming from the central clearing. The small road leading from the commune goes up a steep hill. As I sprint up it I see the main road in the distance. I turn around and look back down the hill towards the commune. I almost shit myself when I notice that there's someone standing down there just staring up straight at me. I don't look at him for another second, I just turn around and bail. There wasn't a single car on the road the whole journey home. I sprinted as long as I physically could. By the time I reached the town it was almost 5 a.m. I felt dead by this point, practically ready to collapse, but I needed to get home and call the police about what was going on at the commune. For all I knew those girls were dead by now. I had just turned the corner into my street when out of nowhere I get shoved to the ground. I never saw the guy cause he shoved my face into the ground. He spoke to me though. "Tell anyone and I'll kill you. Now count to 30 then go home and pretend this never happened." That was 6 years ago now and I've never told anyone since. I left the town to move to the city when I was 18. That night seriously messed me up. I have some serious paranoia issues. My 2 mates hated me after cause they ended up getting caught by the cops. Not really a big deal though. They just had to attend some shitty anti-drug seminar. Looking back, I would take the cops over my experiences any day.
Perfect thread for my experience. Driving home from my girlfriend's house at 3 a.m. or so. About to go up a ramp onto a bridge that I cross regularly. Right before I get on the ramp, I notice a dark figure. Looks very tall for a human, but not Slenderman proportions. Probably about 8 to 9 feet tall. The figure's outline is literally the blackest shade of black I've ever seen. It was an otherworldly tone of black, darker than the night. All it does is stand there right ass next to the road with its back facing the road, looks like its hands are shoved in its pockets. It doesn't react to me driving close by it / past it. I was tempted to honk my horn, but the closer I got the more I got chills down my spine, so I didn't do it. Thing was intimidating. Before this I never had a paranormal experience. Never had another one since then. What the hell was it, guys? This is real life, what the hell?
Alright /x/ this literally just happened. Work at an old mill building in New England. Chilling in my little office, all of a sudden, feeling of being watched / dread comes over me. Look into head manager's office. Bigger feeling of dread. Time for a patrol around the building. Come back to office. Chills down my back. Nope, the hell out of there. Got more stories for you if you want it. I would have chalked it up to that if not for the other experiences I've had. Also, the office has no air conditioning and it's hot as hell right now. Closing up a part of the building. Have to clear out the bathrooms. Doors shut very slowly by themselves, never anything else. Clear out men's room. Nothing happens. Go into women's room. Hear whispering. Count it as my tired mind. Leave the restroom. Door slams harder than I've ever heard it before. This becomes a common occurrence. One night, I jokingly say goodnight. Door closes regularly. I've started saying goodnight when I leave the bathrooms now. Sometimes I still hear whispers, but it's settled down now. I'll type another story in a few. If you're still here, bro, here's another story. Bear in mind that this building used to be an old textile mill and has been converted into a business place. We have our fair share of panhandlers around. It's been a few weeks since I started the job. Things are settling down. Thinking that all of that happened because I'm new and shit. Staring at cameras, being bored. Before I go any further, people used to be able to go on the roof of the building to smoke and shit. They can't anymore because it's unsafe. But they still have a broken camera that sometimes sends a feed into the CCTV room, but most of the time it doesn't work. Roof camera is spazzing out, like it normally does. All of a sudden, it stops and I see a clear picture of someone standing on the roof. In about 2 seconds it goes back to being spastastic. Freak the hell out because nobody is supposed to be up there. Go to the only entrance/exit of the roof. Wait. Wait for another 10 minutes. Decide to go up there. Nobody. Needless to say, I nearly called my boss right then and there to quit. But I can't cause I need the money. Don't believe me if you want. But if you ever want a good amount of experiences with shit, go work as a night security guard in a very old building.
My grandmother was always weird, and into paranormal shit. She actually worked as a psychic for a while. Anyway, me brother and I would go over to her place once a week or so to mow her lawn, and we noticed she had started packing stuff into boxes, so we asked her what she was doing. She looked at us kind of sadly and said she wasn't going to be living here anymore. We asked if her landlord was trying to make her leave. He was an ass. It wouldn't have been the first time, but she said no, but she wouldn't tell us why she was leaving. We asked if she had a place to stay, and she smiled and said she did, so we cut her lawn and went home. We told our mom about it, and she got worried, but my grandma kept being evasive, but assured everyone she had very nice place waiting for her. Later that week my mom got a call from my uncle that she had died. She had a heart attack. We went to her house and found that she had finished packing all her things into boxes, but instead of labels like books or music, things were labeled Susan or Michael. Inside each box was a letter and a number of items she wanted that person to have. Now, there are a number of reasonable explanations for this. It's possible she could feel her heart breaking up and instead of going to a doctor about it just thought, "Vale, this is it then." It's possible it was suicide, that she took something to induce the heart attack, though the coroner didn't find anything like that. If it was anyone other than my grandma, I just assume it was one of those things and move on, but coupled with her history of paranormal stuff, it seems a bit extra weird.
Browsing/x/ Tay magic thread. Write Tay scribblies on a paper plate with the chicken blood. Set plate on fire. 10 minutes later I begin to compulsively bop my neck. Every time I fall asleep I awaken to the sound of a rooster. It's like a rooster app for your mind that you can't uninstall.
Some old men don't sleep. They are always in between worlds. The good old days are everyone's dreams. Deep down you know this.
security guard guy here. One last story. Trying to learn harmonica because I've nothing else to do with my time in the back room. When I'm not doing that, I play music on my iPhone. Playing music, but leave the room to gather things. I can still hear the music. Music stops. Normally means I'm getting a call. Rush back into room. Not getting a call and no missed calls. Look at song. What? Play it and leave the room again. Several songs later, it stops again. What the hell, man? Go back in. Look at song. Chalk it up to iPhone malfunction. Never happens again. Some of the things that happen seem a little childish. But I've found that just saying goodnight before I leave makes less things happen. I hadn't said goodnight for about 4 days, until I got that watching/dread feeling tonight. Also, chills ran up my spine as well tonight. It was just uncomfortable.
Live on a street called Haven. It's in a city, but the location is pretty remote. Houses with horses, chickens, dirt roads and such. Take dogs for a walk frequently, always take a different route and explore the dirt roads. Across a major street there is a house that isn't completely finished being built. Its massive looks about 3 stories. Roof isn't complete, just boards, outside walls are just gray stucco, rent a fence around large property. Chalk it up to bad economy, think nothing of it. Walking by just as the sun is setting. 3 or 4 cars parked outside. Massive amount of feral cats living on the lot. Notice that on either side of the door is a large tile with some picture of the Virgin Mary or some shit. Not really that creepy, but I always thought vampires or some spooky shit lived there. I've kinda got a story that combines with this one I'll add on. Picture related. I went on Google Maps and found the house looks like someone else owns it now and has started work on it again, really late at night, driving down Haven to a really spooky lot of about 4 abandoned houses. Trying to get spooked with some friends. Stop in front of house, roll down windows and shut off car. Get kinda spooked, but not really. Continue driving down Haven, which is a fairly small 2-lane street. Get to the end and turn around. Going about 45, friend slams on the brakes. Dead white cat in the middle of the road that we did not see driving the other way looks fresh. Friend floors it right over the cat with a big thud. Freaking out, they drop me off at my house and leave. I was always finding dead cats in that neighborhood. Right outside of one of those abandoned houses I found one that was pretty mummified and had been there forever. Pic related, after a few months they tore down the abandoned houses and fenced the place up. Last one I can think of from this street. Inside watching some TV at about 10 p.m. Dogs outside barking, I think it's nothing and continue watching TV. Dad comes inside and tells me he just saw something that looked like a huge dog wolf thing. Walking on hind legs behind the house in a dirt lot. Go outside and look over fence, but it's too dark to see anything. Get goosebumps, and hair stands on end. Go inside and lock all doors. Dogs continue to be on edge all night. What it was that my dad saw, but he's not one to lie about shit like that.
Have a semi-creepy story from when I was like 3, but it was just kid scares. B me. B3. B 1992. Laying in bed. Rarely slept at night as that summer midnight sun shit was awesome. Playing with this toy car dashboard thing. It sat over your lap and had a steering wheel and fake levers and shit. Was supposed to be electronic but it never worked. Start to put that shit away and try to lay down. Looks at bedroom door and see a face looking at me. Don't really comprehend what it might be as I was 3 years old. Probably my stepdad being annoyed as hell that I was awake. Kinda creepy. Also when I was a kid I used to be able to zone out my vision in dark/twilighty light and see static type stuff. Like if you press on your eyes a certain way and then look around. But more like spiraling static. Hard to describe. I draw it but /phone and /can't draw.
(2001), lived in a house that was literally driving me batshit. Nothing particularly special about the house, a kind of cheap place that I bought cheap because it was in a less than pristine neighborhood and needed a little cosmetic work. My neighbors were mostly old people slowly being replaced by their crackhead grandkids that clearly inherited their houses just because the families didn't want to deal with them or the house. It didn't matter if I was tired or wide awake, if it was the day or night, or if there were people on the street or quiet outside there were noises. At first you think it's the character of the place, just a little tapping noise behind you or something that sounds like footsteps right next to you in the kitchen, even though you're alone. I thought maybe I was having issues with my ears, so I went to my doctor. She said it was probably a little exhaustion and to make sure that I stuck to a regular sleep schedule, kind of difficult with my hours even then, but I tried. Sometimes I would just be getting ready to leave for work and midway through changing it would sound like someone was tapping on my door to be let in, not knocking on the front door, tapping on my bedroom door. I thought since it always seemed to happen when I was changing my clothes to go to work, maybe I was just standing on loose floorboards and shifting my weight a certain way to cause it. Since it was just me, I swapped the room I was using for storage with my bedroom, and it still happened. I brought in a home inspector. He couldn't find anything wrong, and since the roof was replaced just prior to me moving in, he recommended that I get noise-insulating flooring installed. I did. It didn't help. I was more curious and slightly annoyed than freaked out by the time I hit the 6-month mark. I rented one of the spare rooms in the house to a friend that was leaving her husband, and another room was pretty much my ex-boyfriend but still friend's crash pad when he was in town. So then things started getting creepy. Not like in the movies, blood dripping down the wall creepy. I'm pretty sure I could deal with that, but just subtle and unnerving. I'd walk by a window in the kitchen and feel like someone was looking at me, and there was no one there. And no one could be there because there were some deadly overgrown rose bushes under that window in the backyard. In broad daylight, sometimes hear a door slam inside the house, so loud neighbors could hear it. Go inside the house and check to see what's going on, nothing. Go back outside and from inside hear another slam. Inside the house, my darling ex-boyfriend but still friend had heard absolutely nothing but would ask if I had been knocking on his door. The roomie would come home from work and crash it up, walk around saying, "Who's there? Is anyone there?" I would ask her, "Is everything all right?" And she would get this look and act all embarrassed and I think I'm hearing things again. So, yeah, I put the house on the market, and after a nice couple made an offer, I told them all about the noises, but they were happy with the price and bought it. Not a very climatic ending, but real life has shitty story arcs.
Not really spoopy, but I guess it counts as paranormal. I am from Burritos Land, and where I live there's this street you have to cross in order to get to the main road and get home. I work at night, so I always see people here, but none of them dare to cross the street alone walking and instead use taxis even if it's something like a 2 minutes ride. I didn't know why until it happened to me like 2 years ago. So I changed jobs, and to cut time from walking to home I had to use said street. No way I'm wasting 20 pesos for 1 to 2 minutes inside a taxi, even if it means I'm risking being mugged and possibly rhymes with grape, or killed. I don't have a phone, only my wallet, so 30 seconds and I start hearing footsteps, but loud footsteps like if someone had astronaut boots or something. I think guess some guy wants my money, so I hide a little Yu-Gi-Oh card that I carry in my wallet inside my boxers. Meteor be dragon. Screw you, it was a gift from my best friend who left 7 years ago. But nope, nothing, only footsteps that get louder and louder, and then I hear the thing starts running. I panic and run too, didn't turn back to see what was chasing me. I stop running once I arrive at home and I just yell at my sisters to open the door. They tell me what happened and I tell them my history. They say, "Holy shit, what an idiot, that shit's haunted, yo." Apparently some poor guy got mugged on that same street 5 years ago, and since he didn't have anything to steal they just killed him, and the police found the body inside a dumpster. They found it 2 days later but never caught the culprit. The guy left a family of 4 kids and his wife to take care of themselves alone. And then like a week after that, people complained that you could hear footsteps and yelling in that same street, and if you were unfortunate enough you could see a tall black, as in, completely black, guy just walking behind you but not chasing you or anything. He even stood still if you also stopped walking. However, if you somehow wanted to stay there for more than 5 minutes, he would eventually chase you out of there yelling and running like crazy. Not even the hobos or criminals wanted to stay there, and the street was left alone for 5 years with some morons like me occasionally passing by. They even brought a shaman there, and he told them that the dead guy's ghost didn't want any other families to suffer the same shit his family did, and so he chases us out of there. 5 years later and the street is still the same. My face when undead Batman.
Cool. Well, the care home where I worked about 5 to 6 years ago now was built in the 1800s as a workhouse for the poor. Not entirely sure what they did there since I'm only going by what other staff members told me. I might actually try some research on it since it was a pretty ancient building. It has had some additional extensions built on it over the years. The first story relates to the first extension built in the 1980s. Be me working early shift, coming to the end of my shift round about 5 p.m., had only been working there for about a week. Helping out the laundry staff putting clothes away in the bedrooms while the residents were all downstairs. Go into the extension on the first floor, which consisted of one long corridor ending in a fire escape without about 12 rooms in total. Step through the door, first time entering this section of the building. The air felt heavy, oppressive, like it was full of smoke and it was weighing down on me. Instantly feel like I'm being watched, but get on with my work, unlocking doors and putting clothes away in the rooms. Almost reach the end of the hall when I hear someone in the next room walking around, moving furniture etc., so assume one of the other staff has gone in to tidy up. Go out into the hall, test the door. It's locked. Unlock it and poke my head round the door ready to say hello. Nobody there. Room is empty. All the clothes in the wardrobe thrown out on the floor, cabinet emptied on the bed. Flabbergasted, I go in and start tidying, thinking this was odd, then go downstairs and mention to the on-staff nurse what had happened. She says, yeah, there's something funny about that hall. Turns out they had the local priest come to bless it once, that's why there's a cross on the wall in the hallway, 'cause some of the residents were devoutly religious. Try to avoid that hallway as often as possible, but be me working night shift a month later. We have these pressure sensor mats on the floor for in case a resident gets out of bed in the night, so it calls the night staff. Pressure mats setting off the alarms in that corridor all night. We rush upstairs to check the rooms, all the residents are asleep in their bed. Keep resetting the sensors, it's driving me mad. Ask the other staff if it's always like this, they say yeah, get used to it. Residents had a habit of dying frequently. I would come into work after a day off and maybe 1 or 2 might have passed in the night. Communication between staff was poor, so many people got left in the dark. One day, going around checking up on the rooms after breakfast. Enter one room, a lady who I'm gonna call R was laying in bed. I thought it was odd that the other staff hadn't got her up for breakfast yet. Open the curtains, start getting her clothes out. Good morning R, it's time for breakfast. She doesn't respond. I've tended to this lady a few times, she's usually quite alert. Go over to the bed, pat her on the arm. R? It's time to get up for breakfast, wakey wakey. Start panicking. I hadn't been working as a carer for long, so I was a total noob. Touch her face to detect any breathing, nothing. Realize I've been talking to a corpse for the last 15 minutes. Go out the room, stand by the wall shaking for a while before managing to regain my composure. I went downstairs to tell the nurse, she says oh yeah, she died during the night. Sorry, I guess we should have told you. Like I said, the property underwent a lot of building work over the years. This is a story told to me by one of the other staff members. 2 builders come in to do some work on the flooring in one of the rooms at the rear of the home. One guy goes outside for a cup of tea, then comes back upstairs. He says to his buddy, come on man, you're taking your sweet ass time ripping up this flooring, we haven't got all day. The other builder says, well, how the hell am I supposed to get any work done with all these children running around me? Stunned silence, then the other guy says, what children? They never came back. I've heard children's voice in the corridors and rear rooms of the building. Apparently the workhouse took in a lot of children when it was in business. The section of the building originally used as the dead body storage in the 80s was originally the housing for the child workers. It was a long lounge room with many hatches in the ceiling, which were supposedly where they had their rooms to sleep. One night shift I'm in one of the lounges by myself keeping an eye on the telephone for the nurse. Hear someone coughing in the connecting lounge, dead body storage, to check one of the residents hasn't been left behind. The coughing is really loud and urgent, like someone trying to choke up phlegm. Stand in the middle of the room, looking around me, there's no one here. Coughing is coming from the nurse's office, which was a small section of the room cut off by glass windows and a door. Go over to the office and look through the windows. No one there. Coughing gets louder. Nope the hell out of there and go upstairs to find company. Some of the more terrifying things that happened to me weren't supernatural. A few folks died in the home while I was on shift, and seeing someone die is not only frightening but it gives a sense of complete and total helplessness. I actually stopped working there because of depression. I couldn't handle people dying left, right and center. A lot of them were in advanced stages of dementia. There were quite a few violent patients. One woman would literally punch and kick the living shit out of anyone who tried to go near her. She used to wander around picking up things and putting them in her handbag. Sometimes she would put on 3 or 4 coats, other people's coats, visitors' coats, and refuse to give them back. She hit me in the face once and gave me a black eye. Then other times she would come up and stroke my hair and kiss my forehead. Another woman would literally spend the entire day wandering up and down the hall, banging on the doors, crying, shouting let me out. Help! Help! And those were on good days. On bad days she would start undressing in the middle of the lounge, screaming, and we'd have to wrestle with her to put her clothes back on. I know a lot of these things sound like the stereotypical mental person in a horror movie type crap. It's kind of sad because once you get past the crazy, they're still human. A lot of the staff there became apathetic and stopped caring about these people, which I found really hard to handle. Be me doing breakfast for the lounge I was assigned to that morning. Give the residents who can feed themselves their breakfast, then prepare food for those who need feeding. Sit down with an old gal I'm gonna call M. I fed her a few times, she can't speak anymore but she understands what I'm saying and she's pretty sweet. Feeding M her porridge, she seems reluctant to eat, so I'm trying to coax her. She starts coughing like mad, so I rush and slam my hand on the nurse call button. Rapid beeping on the call monitor, no one to be seen. Rush into the kitchen to tell the cook please help, M is choking. We rush out into the hall, shouting for the nurse, there's no one to be seen. I run upstairs, finally find nurse and tell her what's happening. M has been coughing all night, go and feed her, I don't have time for this. Go downstairs, cook is sitting with M, I sit down too. It's okay M, the nurse will be here soon. I hold her hand as she's heaving and gasping for breath, cook stays with me to help out. 10 minutes later, nurse comes down, takes one look at her, says nothing is wrong. Holy shit, are you serious? I'm not joking. I had to spend the next 8 hours sat next to an old lady who couldn't breathe. I spent that whole time looking into her eyes, and she just kept looking at me, silently pleading for help. I called the nurse repeatedly but she gave me the same answer. I asked her to phone for an ambulance. The nurse told me to STFU, she's a medical professional, she knows what she's doing. Have to spend the whole day watching M struggle. 7 p.m. that night, she passes away. Get in the car to go home, I'm gravely silent. Other staff members are laughing at me, ha ha ha, why you so upset for, everyone dies. Did you see him panicking in the lounge? Ha ha ha. Don't say a word. Go home, curl up in the fetal position and cry hard. I guess I should really whistle blow on this or something. It wasn't the first time staff negligence led to a resident passing away. The home had about 70 patients/residents in total, some were fairly all there, others had basically become living mummies curled up in their beds.
You definitely should have called an ambulance and got that bitch fired. Screw those assholes. You are a good person for doing what you could.
Thanks man. I literally think about this every day. There hasn't been a day in the last 5 years where I haven't thought about it. I was very inexperienced and didn't know any better. Now I know I would have gone to my locker and called the ambulance on my own phone whether they knew it was me or not. I don't care. The worst part is that bitch still works there. There was one patient I'm gonna refer to as F. F was an old guy who before psychosis was a gentleman. He would switch between this infantile sort of mumbling/muteness to psychotic fits of rage. He was quite tall, taller than me, and very physically strong despite his age. F would always have his hands on his face, rocking back and forth, no matter where he was. He never slept, he would sit up in bed rocking. Sometimes he wouldn't speak for days. He had permanent marks on his face. We used to call them his finger grooves because they were caused by his hands always being on his face. Another guy called N didn't have any legs, he used to drive around in his wheelchair. He was a pretty cool guy though. He used to tell me stories about how he traveled the world. He used to live in Australia at one point as a fisherman. He lost his legs to diabetes. Oh, and there was a woman called S. Haha, oh wow. Let me tell you about her, in the next post. S spent pretty much every single day in her room. She hated spending time with the other residents. I think she was in denial about her memory loss. She was very wealthy, but she didn't have a very good relationship with her only son, who would come and see her like once or twice a year. I was there for 2.5 years and I saw him twice in that entire time. S couldn't walk anymore, and she would flip like Jekyll and Hyde. I realized the best way to speak to her was to just stay calm and appease her constantly, but other staff members weren't quite so gentle. We had quite a few foreign workers and she would hurl abuse at them whenever they tried to change her clothes. I'm male and white, same with the other white male workers. She would offer us money and jewelry just to keep us in the room. Of course we couldn't accept gifts. One day, her son came to see her, and then for the following week, we all struggled to get her to eat. She kept flat out refusing. She would only drink water. Eventually it got to the point where the nurse said, you know what, just give up. If she doesn't want to eat, she doesn't want to eat. So following the nurse's instruction, we did. She used to sit in her room, screaming all day. Help me. Help me, I'm being assaulted. But I was told to just ignore her. She would literally go days without seeing a single person besides the nurse who went to change her catheter. She actually believed there was a black man hiding in her wardrobe. She used to beg me to check the wardrobe every single time I came in to bring her food. Eventually, she starved herself to death. I found out later that when her son had visited, she said she didn't want to be in this place anymore, so he said, well, stop eating then, and just die. So she took his advice. Everyone said he wanted to be rid of her so he could get his inheritance, and well, it only took him 2 weeks and he got it. There was another guy in his late 30s/early 40s, who had suffered a brain injury, so he had the mental age of a 5-year-old. He couldn't walk, talk, feed or clean himself, so it was our job to do it. He used to grope the female staff whenever they got close, so the male staff were asked to take care of him. We had to change his diapers throughout the day. We'd go 2 at a time to do the job. The problem was, even though he had the mental age of a child, he had the body of a man. If the nurse came into the room while we were changing him, he would literally get a full-on boner at the sight of her. We would just pretend it wasn't happening and rush to put the diaper back on. Sometimes the staff would refuse to clean him while he had one, so he would have to sit in his own shit for an hour or more. A lot of the residents were incontinent, so you can imagine what the place smelt like after dinner time. A lot of them would shuffle around all day shitting themselves. It was pretty dire. There would be set times for diaper changing, so the meals were scheduled so they would shit around the same time every day. One of the residents used to pull out her diaper pad covered in shit and throw it at whoever was closest. One time it got one of the other residents in the face. She was completely covered in runny poop and we had to take her to be showered again. A few times I got covered in shit as well. Yep. One resident actually used to be a nurse herself. She would spend the whole day stalking around with this weird purposeful look in her eyes, but she could only say the same sentence for every response. She wouldn't let anyone change her clothes. She was so violent. She slammed a door against my face and trapped me behind it against the wall once when I tried to put some slippers on her feet. She hadn't had her teeth brushed for over a year and they were black and brown. They started to break and fall out, so there were these gross little stumps jutting out of her gums. Honestly, her mouth was like the door to hell, but no one was brave enough to get close enough to brush her teeth 'cause so many of us had been clobbered and slapped by her. Eventually it got so bad, an ambulance came and they sedated her so that she could be taken to see a dentist, and they pulled all her rotting teeth out. Despite this, she was pretty funny at times and she had days where she could be really friendly, although the conversation consisted mostly of me asking her random things and her saying the same thing over and over again. Haha, one time there was a fire alarm and all the doors automatically unlocked. Next thing I know, I see her running across the parking lot with her arms in the air like an Olympic runner shouting her quote into the sky. I would write down what it was she used to say, but I kinda wanna keep this as anon as possible. She also used to go around stealing food off the other residents. Dunno if I should continue. I don't wanna shit up the Spoopy thread with my old people stories lol. They're not really paranormal stories as such.
You better continue. This is amazing.
You will continue. This is interesting stuff to read.
Okay. I got so many memories of this place, actually it feels good to get it off my chest. One of the old ladies, gonna call her D, she wasn't as loony as some of the other residents. She took care of herself and could still walk, etc. She lost her memory and sometimes came out with the most random bullshit. She used to make me laugh so much. She used to tell all the female staff they were fat and needed to lose weight. She used to get up to go to the bathroom by herself, but she sometimes needed help getting up. The staff who were working in her lounge that day used to sit at a table at the back of the room with their backs turned, drinking tea and reading magazines, lazy bums. One day, Dee got up to go to the bathroom, but she couldn't stay balanced. She fell sideways and smashed her head on the corner of the wall and they didn't even notice, so we're not sure how long she was on the floor for. Dee swore she was laying there bleeding for about 30 minutes, but it's hard to tell. She had to go to hospital and have stitches in her head, her face swelled up like a balloon. None of the staff wanted to take responsibility for what happened. Dee's family were so pissed off, they moved her out of the home. There an old lady also called Dee who couldn't walk, so she would sit in her chair all day muttering complete nonsense. Sometimes she would shout about a baby in a pram or putting a puppy in a pram or something like that, and something about a big man and a little boy. She wasn't really aware most of the time, she would just be in her own world. She could feed herself, but most of the time she would literally unbutton her top and tip her food down between her breasts. Sometimes if I got too close to her, she would grab me by the neck of my scrubs and pull me right up to her face and stare into my eyes. It was really unnerving 'cause she would seem like she was really trying to communicate with me, and then she would let go and sink back into her own world, muttering. Another lady there used to be an entertainer/singer on cruise ships and she would sit there moaning for hours. They said it was 'cause she was trying to sing like she used to, but it was mostly incoherent groaning sounds. She used to start fights with F, the old guy I mentioned earlier. One time he punched her in the mouth so hard her false teeth flew out. The moaning used to piss off the other residents and make them even more manic than usual, so they used to wheel her into another room and seclude her there. One time, I was feeding her breakfast, because when she was given it, even though she knew how to feed herself, she would flip the tray off the table. This is the same lady who used to throw her shitty diapers at people. She had a really bad cold and I had to keep wiping the green snot gushing out of her nose with some tissue 'cause she kept eating it with her cereal. I had to sit quite close to the patient so I could reach their mouths with the spoon, so my face was about 2 feet away from hers. Then suddenly she did this almighty sneeze while I was talking and I got sprayed with snot and cornflakes. Some of it went in my mouth. Uck, makes me sick thinking about lol. I also made the mistake of sitting down on a chair that one of the residents had used as a toilet and my trousers and shirt were plastered in shit and piss. Lovely. Some of them would pull their diapers off minutes after being put on and hide them under the furniture, so then they would end up crapping themselves and getting covered in feces. Literally there would be trails of pee leading from one room to the next where one of them was wandering along having a wee. One of the old guys needed to be guided to the toilet, otherwise he would drop his trousers and go right where he was standing. One time he took a shit in front of one of the visitors because the staff member attending him didn't understand his gibberish. Another old dude was a bit pervy. He was really happy all the time, And actually I didn't mind chatting to him because he was quite funny sometimes, but then he would get in these weird pervy moods and it didn't matter if you were a man or a woman. We used to get student nurses coming in for work experience and he used to lift their skirts and try to pull down their panties, so they had to be reminded to wear trousers. He used to grope the male staff as well. One time I was in the lift going down to the ground floor with him and he tried to touch my crotch, so I had to grab him by the wrist and tell him not to. He was always really apologetic after, like maybe he knew what he was doing but couldn't control himself. He used to chat up all the old ladies, even the ones that looked like dried up husks and the ones that had no idea WTF he was talking about. The lady I mentioned earlier who used to run up and down the hallway crying used to sit next to him and he'd hold her hand and tell her she was hot stuff. One morning, me and another guy went into his room to get him up for breakfast and he was laying on the bed completely naked, jerking off. He asked us if we wanted to lay down with him and give him a kiss. We turned around and walked out to call the nurse. We have to write file notes every time an indecent incident occurs.
Be me. About 15 yo. In backyard, shooting new airsoft gun at target. Start hearing this buzzing, like the sound a wasp makes, but at the volume of a plane passing over your house. Choose to ignore at first, figure there is just a flying near me or something, so I start flailing like an asshole. Suddenly gets louder and higher pitch. Hell no. JPG. Start firing in all directions as I sprint the hell back to the front yard and to the door. It kept getting louder until I was in the house and the door was closed. It was a terrible experience. I love bees, and I admire wasps as predators, but they are disgusting. Little bastards. The thought of a giant wasp killing me in my own backyard was terrible. I still haven't figured out what was making the noise.
Backstory: my great-grandfather was a German soldier who fought in World War I and World War II and died in the Battle of Stalingrad. My family refuses to answer me most of my questions about him, and I can understand their reasons, but I'm too curious, and I already knew some rumors that my family kept some things long waiting to be forgotten with them. Coincidence or not, my house has a basement which I'm not allowed to enter by my father's orders. Be me 2 years ago at age 17. Couldn't control my curiosity anymore, had to enter the basement and check for myself what was inside there. Father usually enters the basement on weekends. Finally discovers where my father hides the key after weeks of placing hidden camera on strategic spots. It was actually inside his computer case. Then comes the day when I'm alone in my house. Get the key and open the basement. The hell, this is huge. JPG. Infinite amount of boxes with every kind of things inside. Deeper in the basement I came across a wooden box with an iron cross carved on it. I couldn't believe when I saw that thing right before my eyes. Opened it carefully because didn't want to move it or something that would make my father think somebody else was down there. There were some letters and some bullets, but the first thing that came to my interest was a ragged steel helmet. Worst decision of my life when I decided to prove it. As soon as I placed it on my head I heard a loud scream, a desperate one, like if someone was in the middle of a bombardment. Throw the helm on the floor and start to nope as fast as I could out of there. Don't know how I got the courage to get back there and started placing everything back in the box exactly like they were before. Nope out of there a second time and lock that door for good. Hide the key back inside the computer case. Actually glad my father never discovered I was down there. Occasionally have nightmares related to war, but thankfully nothing such as that loud scream.
Alright, I'll share the thing that psychologically messed with me the most. Early teenager. Prob like 12-13. Have wooden bunk bed. Sleep on bottom bunk all the time. One night have a dream. I'm laying in bed with my arm hanging over the side of the bed. Suddenly some strange grotesque alien hand grabs mine. Wake up immediately. I'm on the floor next to my bed. Oh my god, this shit haunted me until I was like 18. Really though, it was one of those dreams that was so real you aren't even sure that it's a dream. Had to sleep with my TV on for years, and to this day I don't like to sleep with my hand hanging off my bed like that.
I have this tiny little anvil which was my grandfather's. His house was haunted as hell. Mother and aunts growing up there say so after I and my family lived there for like 2 years, while my whole family has had experiences. That being said, when my grandfather died, all I wanted was his tiny anvil we used to smash pennies on and make tiny horseshoes out of nails within his garage. He was a real do-it-yourself, Depression era, World War II Marine super grandpa. But, like I mentioned, his house was haunted. He dies and I get the anvil, for fond memories. I place it up on a shelf in my apartment and kind of forget about it for a while. One night, POW. A huge thud wakes me and my wife up. I get the crowbar from under the bed and search the place. Only thing out of place? Tiny anvil. It fell off the shelf. This happened 3 more times in about as many months until I started checking it regularly. I would put the anvil further back on the shelf and in about a month's time, it would be about an inch from the edge of the shelf. My wife tried to debunk it as the doors slamming from neighboring apartments, where the shelf wasn't level. But nothing else moved or fell from the shelves, just that. Not too spooky, but luckily not too much spook has followed me. I'll post some stories about his house and shenanigans that followed us to my parents' home and a little bit of bullshit in our apartment in a bit. Because /x/ always wants more. Boss is out of the office, so I'll tell some more about that house. Long story short, my parents lost their asses and we had to sell our house to have enough money to make it. We moved into my grandfather's house since my grandmother had died recently for my mom to help take care of him and whatnot, plus having his grandkids there made him happy. My sister and I shared a room, mom's old room, parents had one of her sister's old rooms, grandpa had his room, and last room was the antique room. Grandma loved antiques. One night there is a banging noise in our room, like moving furniture sounds. As I'm waking up from the noise, my sister jumps onto my bed, terrified, saying something is kicking her in her bed. No shit, the bed is shaking, so we do what little kids do, we scream for our parents. Dad storms in, pissed we're jumping around and screaming. He opens the door and as soon as he flicks the switch, the bed stops. Confused, he looks at us, who were not in any bed jumping kind of position, cowering in the corner. We explain what happened and in typical dad fashion he checks under the bed. See anon and schiiiin. Nothing under the ba. He stopped in mid-sentence, bolted upright, gathered us kids, and we all slept in my parents' room. Later, after we moved out, he tells us that while he was looking under the bed he felt what he described as a cold, wet sheet dragged across his back and legs. We still don't know what it was. And another. We're finally moved into our brand new home now. Brand new as in just build, first owners. It's been a few years since anything really weird has happened. Everything seems good. We're having a family night and watching a movie when we all turn and look at the landing halfway up the stairs. There is a man peeking at us through the posts, hands on top of the railing and kneeling behind it. We're all too dumbstruck to move and we watch him stand and calmly walk upstairs. Suddenly Dad and I get into action mode. I grab fire poker, he gets some other tool good for leg breaking, and we charge upstairs. All of the bedroom and bathroom doors are open. We look in every room, closet, cabinets, under sinks. Nothing. We notice too that all the windows are shut and locked, all of the screens are in place. What the hell did we just see?
Be me. Gram has been dead for over 3 months. I loved my Gram, man. Often wake up thinking she's still alive. That painful smack in the head I get when I remember she's dead. Fast forward to 2 days ago. Have a horrid fever. I feel like shit and decide to nap. Start dreaming. My Gram is dressed in complete white, and sitting at a table with me drinking tea and eating cookies. My Gram starts talking to me. She tells me she's fine and to be good, and she gives me a kiss on my forehead and hugs me. I wake up. Completely okay, no fever, nothing, not even a sniffle. I love my Gram.
My cousin told me this one, so if it's legit, but it's something. 2-ish in the morning, nobody is awake. My aunt fried up some hamburgers for them for dinner. The pan is still sitting on the stove because they run their own life. My cousins, 10 years old-ish, are watching cartoons. In the cartoon there's a lightning strike. Right as it hits, they hear a loud popping noise in the kitchen. Kind of like one of those party popper things that launch confetti. They go out to the kitchen. The pan is steaming and the room smells burnt. Time for bed.
I lived in an apartment unit with multiple floors and a basement. It was a big place for a small kid. I was 5 or 6. I was wandering once alone and saw the basement door open and heard something down there. I hadn't seen my mom in a minute, so I assumed it was her. I went down the stairs believing once I got down there I'd run into my mom, but she wasn't immediately around. I poked around a bit thinking, oh, maybe around this corner, or that one. But she wasn't there. Then I realized I was wandering in the basement alone with the lights off and noped the hell out. My mom was upstairs, didn't know why the basement door was open. I don't recall what the sound was that led me down there. At my grandparents' house there was a basement that was divided similar to the one you describe. There was an alcove with the water heater, a wooden chair, and the opening to a crawlspace where my grandfather stored and dried wood. He would always tell me if I didn't behave I'd have to go to the basement and sit in the woman's lap that sat in the chair. You'd imagine an old lady crawling out of the hole and sitting in the chair. Still creeps me out. Kinda a mean thing to tell a kid. At another house I was following my mother through an interior room in the house without windows. It had knotty pine panels on the walls, which I always likened to eyes, if you know what I mean, so I already wasn't a fan of the room. Anyhow, I was following her pushing the vacuum cleaner, it was off, through the room in the dark to another room. I distinctly recall feeling something grabbing my leg. I turned and saw a man coming out of a box, like the top half coming out of an average packing box, grabbing my leg. He was like a television image that didn't light stuff around it. Or like the way images get burned into your eyes and you see them when you close your eyes, but well defined, not monochrome. He was well lit in a dark room is what I'm getting at. So I screamed and ran into my mother while she was walking, crying about how dad's playing a trick on me. It didn't look like my dad, but he was the only dude in my house, so I assumed, though he wasn't home at the time. She said I probably tripped on a cord and scared myself. Terry's no way a guy was coming out of the box, and that my mind was playing tricks on me. Well, screw my mind.
We still don't know what happened. Be me, 15 years old teenager hanging with a friend of mine at our pond. We're eating, talking about hot girls in our school, etc. In the middle of his sentence we stopped as we thought we just saw a weird small like large bug-size animal, furry animal jump about 30 feet to the branch we were next to. 5 seconds later, without warning, not even a loud snap as you would usually hear, but the branch is cut cleanly through directly under creature. Friend and I immediately noped to get away from buzz saw creature. As we run we turn upon hearing another sound. This time it's not clean, the branch is hanging by a thread, and the furry buzz saw creature is sitting on that thread. Continue noping, get inside, hear a final snap way far away. I don't know why it stopped following us or what the hell it even was. It took serious guts for us to ever go back there.
Be a couple years ago. Riding my bike through my neighborhood at night. Path goes through a forest, then entrance of the path is next to a children's park. Past the park, suddenly hear children laughing. Reverse a bit, it's like 11 p.m. and the park has no lights on. Can't see any kids at the park, go a little closer to make sure. Hear the laughing again, closer this time. Book it out of there and never go that path at night again.
I posted in a thread with this topic last night, hopefully someone here can help me tonight. Be driving home from GF's house at 3 a.m. Driving to an on-ramp for a bridge, I take this road all the time. As I'm approaching the ramp, I notice a very tall, extremely dark figure just standing with its back facing the road. It looks to be about 8 to 9 feet tall, humanoid shaped, not quite Slenderman proportions, though. This thing was the blackest shade of black I've ever seen. It was an otherworldly black. Blacker than the night. It just looks to be standing right next to the road with its back facing the road, looks like has its hands in its pockets. It has no reaction to me getting closer / driving past it. The closer I get, the more scared I become. Since it has no reaction to me driving past it, I think about honking my horn at it, but the closer I got, the stronger the chills down my spine became, so I decided not to acknowledge it. Never had a paranormal experience before or after this, thank God I didn't honk at it. What the hell was it, guys? Someone help me understand what I saw. This shit really happened to me. I'm still scared about it.
Be around 6 or 7. Visiting mom's family in Honduras. Go to some river with cousin and fam. Goof around, have good time. Rocks are really big for some reason. Pick them up and they have white lines all over them. Decide to take some for souvenirs. Locals tell me that the rocks are piedras de spiritos. Stone spirits? Say fudge it, take a bunch of them home. Try making a hole in one of them to make a necklace but fail. Put them all in one box and under my bed. Go to sleep. Wake up in the middle of night and see a figure of a person pick related. Like 15 feet away from bed. Get scared as shit but go to sleep. Wake up again but this time it's closer. Not sure if it was just my head but think it's slowly moving closer. My bed was right next to parents, so I just got really close to my dad. Try to wake him up but he doesn't. Close my eyes and next thing I know it's morning. Box of stones is gone.
Abandoned military base all the way down my road. Live surrounded by just flat fields, not much around but a few scattered houses. Friend tells me of his exploration of military base. Was once told to leave by men from matching white trucks who appeared there. Another time, he saw men with dogs weaving through nearby field. Rows of bunkers, one of which used to be open. Has since been welded shut, for reasons unknown. Pick related, from my exploration of the base on Christmas night, 2013.
About 3 or 4 years ago. Sleeping in my bed, suddenly wake up. Glance over at the digital clock, it's 3 a.m., or sometime around then. As I'm still looking at the clock, the minutes start to go by like seconds. This is very startling, so I reach over to turn on my bedside light, while keeping my eye on the clock. As soon as I flip the switch on the light, there's a loud bump in my closet, and at the same time the clock stops ticking off time so fast. Feel a bit braver now with light in the room, so I go check out what's up in the closet. The hatch that leads to my attic located in my closet is askew. Nope the hell out of the closet. Keep my lights on all night. Don't sleep till daylight. When I check my phone for time in the morning, it matches up with what the digital clock says. I still don't know what the hell was going on that night. Pick related, from my exploration of the base on Christmas night, 2013, a few weeks after the last incident. Sleeping in my bed again, pretty much forgot about prior incident. Suddenly woken up by my name whispered in my ear. Open my eyes. An orb of black smoke swirling around about 3 feet in diameter is a foot away from my face. My heart drops, pure adrenaline shoots through my body. Reach for the light switch again. The second I turn it on, the smoke shit is gone. Maybe 2 or 3 seconds elapsed from the point of hearing my name whispered and seeing it disappear. Look at the clock. It's 3:33 a.m. Same drill as before, lights on all night, no sleep until daylight. Don't know why, but this shit always happens at 3:33 or close to then. Next story is one my friend also experienced, so I know I'm not schizophrenic or some shit. Be hanging out at my friend's house all night, playing video games, shit like that. We notice how late it is, so he decides to drive me home. Turn the corner to my street, my house is maybe half a mile down, and the last one on the street. While we're approaching my house in the car, I'm looking out the side window from the passenger seat. I suddenly see weird light refractions and bends in the light coming from in front of the car, but only glimpse it out the corner of my eye. Even seeing as little as I did, I get that familiar pit of despair feeling in my gut. My friend stops the car and says, "Anon, did you see that?" in a shaky voice. I'm like, damn, I saw something, don't know what, but it made me feel like complete shit. He tells me he saw a black figure appear in front of the car's headlights, and it made the headlight beams bounce off of it in weird ways, so it appeared straight up black. Well shit, that must have been what I was seeing. Kind of glad I didn't see the black figure. It just so happens to be 3:33 a.m. again. We nope the hell back to his house, and I spend the night there. The AC in upstairs has crapped out. It's the middle of the summer in Phoenix, so me, my brother, and my sister all sleep in the downstairs living room that has working AC. I'm on the couch, they're on sleeping bags on the floor. Wake up in the middle of the night again. The only light is from a street light outside, barely coming through the blinds. Everything's barely visible. Look over and see the silhouette of my little brother standing up on top of his sleeping bag. I say, "James, go back to sleep. It's late." As soon as I say it, he jerks toward me and just stands there seemingly staring at me. I keep saying, "James, lay down." Still staring. He twitches a few times. The remote for the TV is next to me on the floor. Grab it and turn it on so I can see what's up with my brother. As soon as the TV light flickers on, my brother's silhouette disappears. Look down, he was in his sleeping bag the whole time. Check my phone, of course it's 3:33 a.m.
I had a similar thing happen to me. I slept on a simple mattress on the floor underneath my bedroom window when I was a teenager. Go to bed one night. Enter dream mode. Wake up in the dream when a red light starts glowing outside my window above me. Overwhelming dread fills my body, and I'm overcome with insane amounts of fatigue at the same time. The light seems to get closer and closer to the window, growing in brightness exponentially. It takes all my willpower to fight through the mounting fatigue and stand up. Try to run towards the bedroom door. The drowsiness fully encompasses me and I collapse to the floor right by my door. I see the redness pulse even brighter as the fear gathers in the pit of my stomach. In the dream, fatigue wins and I fall asleep. In real life, I wake up. I'm laying in front of my bedroom door, a good distance from my mattress, right where I was in the dream. I rationalize that maybe I rolled off the mattress, didn't wake up because it wasn't that far off the ground, and then somehow got over to the door in a kind of night terror. But that dream felt incredibly realistic, and I've never experienced anything like it.
This was when my wife and I got our own apartment. We're in bed and both of us are sleeping poorly. We keep waking up too hot, my shoulder aches, 2 to 3 trips to the bathroom. A general restless and uncomfortable night. We're both awake at one point, and we're talking while both trying to get comfortable when we are interrupted by what first is a cough, like someone politely trying to get our attention. We stop talking and just stare at each other in disbelief when what sounds like a person saying, "Ah," comes out of literally nowhere. My wife jumps in shock and I again reach for my crowbar under the bed. I then realize this sound is coming from in our room. It has been quieting down little by little, but the noise continues again and again like someone says it until running out of breath. Windows are shut, look in closet and bathroom, listen next to walls. No, this sound is coming from the center of our room. She turns on my bedside lamp and the sound still continues, albeit much quieter. We are both up now and pinpoint the sound to the center of the room, about 5 feet up from the ground, as if someone was literally standing in our room saying, "Ah." Not screaming it, like saying it long and drawn out. Finally we hear it running out of breath, and it finishes with a crescendo, "Ah." Silence. Wife and I are still WTF-ing when the door slowly closes and latches shut. Everything else seems okay for the rest of the night, and somehow we finally get to sleep. The next morning, my tiny anvil I keep on the shelf from my grandfather's house is on the floor.
Be me, 2 or 3 years ago. Lying in bed, trying to fall asleep. Suddenly, right by my ear, I hear laughter. Just he he he. Like a little kid's voice. Probably hypnagogic hallucination. Not sleep paralysis, because I definitely could, and did, move, like fly across the room and smash my face into the wall from sheer spoop. Mostly because it's the only auditory spooky experience / hallucination / paranormal shit I've ever had.
Be smoking a joint on the back porch. Full moon, have a country property, everything is kinda lit up. Suddenly realize there's a person standing on my back lawn. Tactically shit a brick and actually fall out of my chair. Get away, he's already inside. Hear the door slide open behind me. Scream with complete terror as I realize I'm actually gonna get murdered. Friend tackles me. Friend howling from the lawn. Was angry as all hell, but we went inside and got stoned. Not paranormal, but I was 100% sure the person behind me was a murderer and I was actually gonna die right there on my back porch. Easily one of the scariest moments of my life. Not even once. Be me. 10 years ago, 10 years old. Be camping with best friend, still best friend. We set up camp in a clearing in my acre of woods. We think we are badasses and won't get scared, even though it's creepy as hell down there. At about 10 p.m. we start discussing paranormal things. We both act calm but know we are scared shitless. My older brother comes down and starts shaking the tent. We nearly shit ourselves but shrug it off. He talks to us for a while, then hikes back up to the house. Me and my friend put on some gay-ass Catholic music because we are scared of demons. I lay awake in the tent observing all sound in the woods. Hear a rattle every couple of minutes. Friend is asleep. I hear a blood-curdling scream about a foot behind the tent. It was loud enough to make my ears ring. I bury myself in my sleeping bag and figure it's just my brother. Eventually I pass out and go to sleep. When I wake up, I'm tired as hell, and my friend walked up to the house leaving me alone down here. I walk out of the tent and find a ton of crosses made from sticks and bound by grass surrounding the tent. I walk up to the house and ask if he did it. He says he didn't. Ask brother if he did, swears he didn't. Somehow a shit ton of crosses were placed around our tent.
I got a few stories, mind you most of them have been passed down to me from members of the security community. The first one happened to me personally. On Kadena Ave, Okinawa, Japan, on the golf course next to Gate 1 there is an old Jap hospital bunker built into the mountain. From what I was told it was brutal room-to-room fighting and the Marines cleared it out. Be me, 19 years old, level-headed security troop. Farmed out to mid's flight for the holiday schedule. Posted as Seria 5. Conducting routine check on bunker for safety, fence integrity and for signs of intrusion. Gate secure. Start listening to the sounds coming from inside. Sounds of water drops echoing from the black depths. Listen closer. Sounds like muffled gunshots and automatic fire. Too rapid and in the same tone to be debunked as water drops. Nope the hell out. Sorry I can't green text.
Two years ago. Midsummer. In car with mom. Mom telling me about how when the night before her grandpa died, 3 loud bangs were heard on the front door. Tells me she was sitting in the living room with her cousins and siblings. They all heard it too. Call bullshit. Ask uncles and aunts about it. They confirm. Still call bullshit. Fast forward to December that same year. Winter break. Sleeping on couch with little brother. Middle of the night. Watching Disney Channel because that's what my little bitch brother wanted to watch. Brother falls asleep around 12. I stay up for a couple more hours, then eventually lay down to fall asleep. Close my eyes and not even 5 minutes later, I hear 3 loud bangs on the garage door. Shit myself. Thinking someone is trying to break in. Lay in bed frozen, not knowing what to do. Nothing else happens that night. Fall asleep after a bit. Still shocked over the knocks. Fast forward to the evening that same day. Don't say shit about the incident that happened last night. Go to Red Robin's. Hell yeah. Mom gets call from relative. Aunt just died. Instantly remember the 3 knocks on the door. Connect it to my aunt dying. Tell my mom about what had happened. She doesn't believe me. Tell other relatives what had happened. No one believes me. I'm still convinced that what I heard was real and not my imagination. I know damn well what had happened and that I was wide awake. It wasn't a dream or anything. I have a couple more stories if you guys want. There's little conspiracies in our family about witchcraft and shit if you guys wanna hear.
I myself have a few events which I cannot explain. They all happen in the same house at different intervals. Like one night I was home alone and in my room and such. Just for reference, my room can see the kitchen and living room respectively. Normally when alone at home I keep my door open. Anyhow, one night I am there on my computer, then the dark flash went past my room door so frickin' fast my heart skipped a beat. So got up and started looking. Nothing. I swear that dark figure which flashed across my door was human height. Anyhow, ignore it, go back and sit down. Boom. It darted across my room door entrance. Now I'm pissed cause I'm starting to think some flying insect in my house. Now with my sword out in my small clothes searching for this bastard. Turn on every light, nothing. Now I was sure someone was messing with me. I could continue this cause more shit happen, I can't explain a lot more crap. But that's another time, got shit to do. So continue from that long pause. The elusive shadows that are in my house were only seen by me until my mother started seeing them. Now she couldn't call me paranoid anymore. Anyhow, one night my mother and I were home in the living room watching TV and I jokingly said out loud, "So mom, do sometimes feel weird feeling that something is here?" She replied, "No, anon, why do ask?" As soon as I was going to reply, this small shadow dashed under the sofa, and funny story, our hearts both skipped a beat. So I turned to her, "Did you see that? We have a mouse inside." "Oh great." Be me lifting all the chairs, sofas, and turning the house upside down to find the bastard. Then the so-called mouse I was looking for dashed under my foot to the room behind me so fast that all I caught was a shadow in the corner of my eye. Now I'm pissed as hell. This thing is playing with its life. So took out machete, went on all fours, be like, "Here boy, I won't hurt you," and shit. All this time mom is asking, "Are you sure that's a mouse? Didn't look like one to me," anon. So I'm like, "Then what was it we saw?" She doesn't even know. Spent 2 damn hours looking for that bastard in that room and nothing. Even set traps and poison in the room and locked the door hoping I would catch shit. Came home, that even traps untouched and poison as well. Now I'm like, what the flying hell is going on? I'm like doubting myself of what I saw now. So being the paranoid whore I am, left the poison/traps in the room for a week with it closed. Still nothing. One morning mom turned to me and said, "Let's get the house blessed." I'm like, "What for?" "Because of the shadows and uneasy feelings." Asked her, "Do you feel threatened in any way, shape or form?" She said no, so I said, "So do I," and there's the answer. Don't get me wrong, I am a Catholic, but calling people to bless the house for things we may be seeing sounds like a waste of time. Beside, doesn't feel evil, just feel like it's messing with us.
Let's see if anyone remembers me. I know it's a repost, posted this story 6 months ago, but I figured it's time. Didn't bother saving it though, so I have to write it all over again. but I don't feel like taking all night, so I am going to write it fast, which means it won't be as good. Let's cut to it. A while back I lived in a flat I rented from a friend. She had this room next to the bedroom she kept locked at all times, and strictly forbade me from entering. She didn't leave a key for the room when she went to the US, and I wasn't really that interested about the room, so I hardly cared. She had a hallway which connected the living room, toilet, kitchen and bedroom. The locked door was in the living room, so that was not connected to the hall. In the hall was a crystal lamp, and a mirror. Reasons for mentioning this will be provided. It all started one night. I was sitting in the living room when I felt watched. This wasn't the first time ever. Usually it's just imagination that you discard and just continue doing what it was you were doing, but this time, the feeling didn't go away. The weird thing is, it felt as if the source of the "ah, damn, it's here again," my desk lamp just lit up all by itself. The things I describe are pretty much still ongoing. I'm kind of used to them by now, even if I just had an heart attack. I guess it doesn't like me asking for help getting rid of it. Back to the story. Anyhow, it felt as if something from the doorway to the locked room was watching me. It creeped me out so much I finally had to leave, but I had to pass the damn door, and for the first time since childhood I was scared shitless for something I couldn't see. So, I went to the kitchen, and the feeling just kept at it. I looked out into the hallway, into the mirror, which, due to the angle, caught the damn door. So I closed the door to the kitchen and the feeling was gone. I was so creeped out I couldn't leave the kitchen for an hour. More to come. Sorry about the weird format of the last post, no idea how that happened. Anyway, I stayed in the kitchen, went out, everything was back to normal, and I just sighed with relief, and decided I had just let my imagination get the better of me. So life went on, pretty much without incident, until one day a few weeks later when I was sitting in the kitchen by my laptop playing COD 3, when I heard rasping behind me. I turned to watch, but couldn't find the cause. Damned rats, I figured, by now almost having forgotten the incident with the door. After a while I heard the scraping again. Damn rats. A while later, again, the scraping. So, that's it, I reckon. Stand up and turn around to kick the sink. Discover that the knives I had on the bench behind me was all lined up perfectly, the points at me. This, I think, is when I realized something really scary was going on. But this time, I wasn't even scared. I guess I was shocked or something. I just put the knives back where they belonged, in the dishes. It was later I realized what had just happened. But again, things went calm. Nothing happened for some time, and I again forgot about it. Until one night, without warning, I wake up. Oh shit, there is someone in my room. I look around to see, but I can't move my head. I was paralyzed, and then the fear hit me. Brain-wrecking panic the likes I had never felt before. I tried to scream, fight, run, just explode into action. But nothing happened. And then I heard words in my ears. Strange words. Not garbled. Not incoherent. I understood everything, but I had no idea what they said, as if the memory of the words had been wiped at the same time I heard them, only leaving the afterimage of the words in my memory. I couldn't recite them 5 seconds after that, and can't recite them now. More to come. If I was scared before, it was nothing like after hearing the words. I think I blacked out for a second. Then the whispered words just went louder, and louder until I thought my ears would break, but the sound wasn't in my ears, it was in my mind. Suddenly, I sat straight up, opened my mouth and started howling. I had no control of it, it was as if I was watching through the windows. I just howled more than I thought possible with only one set of lunges, and then just slumped back into my bed. And fell asleep. The next day, I felt as if I had slept a year. At first I was confused. Daylight. And then, I remembered what had happened, and I felt sick, physically ill. I had to go to the toilet and throw up. That's when I decided to call in a medium. I knew a medium from childhood. She was the mother of one of my closest friends, and she always said I should be careful never to meddle with anything supernatural. She said it was nothing for me, and warned me against ever trying any ghost board things. I always thought that was weird, coming from her, but just went with it, since I figured I would never be interested in that stuff anyway. I thought she was just trying to get me into it, using reverse psychology, so I was convinced never to try it, out of spite. I was desperate now though, and I had heard coins had mystical powers somewhere, no idea where lol, so I put up coins over every doorway, making sure they were wedged in between the wood of the frame and the wall so they wouldn't fall out. Anyway, I called up on my friend which I hadn't seen in years, and we set up a meeting at my place. I didn't tell her of the stuff that had been happening because I didn't want her to think I was bonkers or nothing, so she came over, and as we were sitting in the kitchen, talking about old times over the noise of her toddler that was screaming bloody murder the whole duration of our visit. Then she froze, and got a weird look on her face for a moment. Then she turned around and looked out in the hallway. I followed her gaze, and as she was staring, one of the coins I had over every doorway in the house just slowly rolled by in a perfect straight line. She looked at me as if I had betrayed her somehow, and took her kid and left, saying she had to go. I picked up the coin, and decided it had to have come from the kitchen door frame, and that it had somehow dislodged itself. The coin was still there. Confused, I checked the other doors. The coins were all still there. The weirdest thing I discovered upon inspection was that the letters were turned backwards. I figured it was just a badly made coin, perhaps something I had placed on a shelf or something that had finally slipped over the edge. After that, I had another short relief period. Nothing happened until the day I moved out and was cleaning the flat. I heard scraping on the wall of the locked room while I was cleaning out the bedroom. This time, I was pretty much a wreck, jumping at every sound, never going in the living room out of fear of what was behind that locked door. The scraping was really silent and weak. I had to strain my hearing to even distinguish the sound from the background noise of a flat in the middle of a city. As I was listening, the scraping turned into a sharp bang against the wall, causing me to almost fall backwards into the wall. After that, I quickly cleaned out the rest of my stuff and left, happy to be rid of the place, at the time thinking it was a local thing. But the thing followed me. The next flat I moved into, everything was calm to start with. Then, the things started happening again. The paralysis. The whispers. The feeling of being watched. Weird stuff happening. So I went on /x/ and asked for help. I got a few suggestions. Iron being one. But it didn't help. Neither did salt. Not even the crucifix helped me, nothing. Not the Bible, not suggested by /x/. Not anything at all. And it is still happening, to this very day. Like I said before. The lamp on my desk just went on by itself.
I don't care if people think I'm crazy, but I know it happened, chilling at friend's place. Playing on PS3. PS3 turns off, TV turns off. Phone starts acting weird. Suddenly starts hearing white noise coming from inside my head. Start hearing demonic voice. Tells me to kill my friends. Telling evil voice inside my head no. Goes on for 5 minutes, white noise disappears and electronics start working again. Nothing like this has happened before or since that incident. Happened earlier this year BTW. Anybody have any explanations? Another incident. Same homie's place. Went to use restroom. Bathroom lights start flickering on and off. Smoke starts coming from one of the lights. Smoke everywhere in bathroom. Ask friend if he has electrical problem in bathroom. Lived there most his life and nothing like that has ever happened. Am I cursed?
Be about 12 years/0. Staying with the rest of my family and some friends in a beach house in Oregon. At night. Sleeping on floor, my mom and sister got the bed. Only one bedroom. Start hearing this noise, like a bunch of people humming at the same time for about a second. Hear it again, but louder. Realize it's actually a word. Realize it sounds like my name. Freak out and stand up, ready to bolt out of room when I stop. Hear noise again, no longer sounds like my name. Realize it's coming from my sister. Remember my sister has asthma, so she breathes weird in her sleep. I am shit.jpg. That was perhaps the stupidest thing I have ever been scared of.
I need a logical explanation of this. This happened recently. A few months ago. Chilling on my PC playing a game. Wearing headphones but with no music playing, no voice chat program on, no browsers open, etc. Suddenly a weird digital interference type of noise out of nowhere. Hear a garbled man's voice saying test. Test. Before the noise disappears, completely silence again. Frozen in my seat for several minutes, freaking the hell out. Someone explain please.
Hand hanging off my bed like that. I sleep with my mattress on the floor. No worries about shit lurking under my bed. Grew up in shit shack in semi-urban area. Had roaches and rats. Tried keeping the place clean, but it was a duplex and the neighbors in the other half of the house were filthy hoarders, hence bugs and rats. Sleeping, age 9. Feel something crawling on me, it's hairy and fairly big like a rat. Scream and run to get my dad. He tells me I'm full of it and there's nothing there, go back to sleep. But verified mice in cabinets, attic, and other parts of house. Age 16, sleeping. Feel something crawling on me. Wake up with reflex of swiping it off me. Realize it was a bug and I just flung it across my room. Couldn't go back to sleep until I found it and killed it. Tore room apart in search. Finally found it, chase is on. It tries hiding under mattress. Nope. Get that bastard with the tissue. Take carcass out to trash, wash hands, back to bed. Also had squirrels in walls and attic, they could be loud, routinely woke me up. Banged on ceiling or wall to shut them up. Now. No matter where I am living at moment, whether it's nice or ghetto, vigilant for noise at night. Hear anything, we'll spend 30 minutes listening to try and deduce if it's a rat or just random noise, outside or whatever. Any noise at night equals I shit bricks thinking it's a rat.
I might as well post this, since it was horrible. I was probably about 5. A little kid, either way. In an old house. A creepy house. When upstairs you would constantly feel watched. As a kid, I never really played in my room because of this. One night I wake up. Black shadow in the middle of my room. I say hello. No reply. I close my eyes. It vanishes. That house was horrible. I've never had nightmares as bad as I did back in that house. Loads of crap happened there according to my mother, but it happened at night and I've always been a heavy sleeper. When my grandparents moved in, my grandparents would be pestered and a candle was knocked over in the front room, almost burning everyone. Hated that house. The area it was in has gone to students and immigrants from what I last heard.
Be 7 years old. Have a horrible vivid nightmare of me sitting in my room reading when I suddenly hear my mother and brother scream from her bedroom. In the dream, I run to the room and the door is shut. A pool of blood appears underneath the door and touches my feet. A horrible tall dark creature opens the door and starts chasing me around the house. I used to live in a very unusual house where, almost, all the rooms were connected with 2 entrances. This being chases me for what feels like hours. He mentally controls the locks on doors and sometimes I have to turn around and run for the other door. At the end of my nightmare, the creature catches up with me and stabs its long sharp index finger into my lower back. I wake up abruptly and feel a horrible sharp pain on my lower back. It's nothing like I ever felt before. The pain throbs and feels like it's a nerve deep inside my spine or something. It's indescribable. I really can't compare it to any other pain. What's unusual is that I feel this exact pain every time I have a nightmare. I never had a dream about this creature again, but as long as it's a nightmare, this horrible sharp nerve-ripping pain appears at the exact same spot. It's really weird to think about. It's been happening for 22 years now.
Okay, I'm not a good narrator and I'm not very good in English, but B10. In those years I was staying for summer to my grandparents' house in the country. I always helped them with the houseworks, etc. One day my grandmother asked me to take some oil bottles in the basement. I go down those little steps not in fear because I was used at it. I take one bottle of oil and one of wine. We produce them by ourselves and we put them in similar bottles. Hear my grandpa. Hey Granny asked for oil, look closer. I WTF not for the voice but because I took the wrong bottle. Go upstairs and give the bottles to my grandma. At lunch I say thanks to my grandpa for telling me that I was wrong. He WTFs. He was working in the garden. Tell them the story. They made up a stupid excuse like he was joking. They prohibited me to go in the basement again.
I'll tell you guys about some spooky shit that happened to me. One paranormal and one not. Paranormal 1, be me. 15. Parents just got a beach house. Sleeping there for the first time. Have a dream in which me, my brother and my dad are in an abandoned airport. Brother disappears in said dream for some reason. Dad standing about 10 feet away from me, just staring at me with a blank expression. Ask him what he's doing. Suddenly can't breathe. Choking to the point where I feel like I'm going to pass out. Wake up, some woman I don't know's face is right up in mine for about a second and then disappears. Shit was unsettling. Other non-paranormal story coming up next. Other one. Same year, still 15, hanging out with two friends, both 14. We were walking around his neighborhood at night because bored. It was just before 9 o'clock, sun had gone down. We walked into a park that closes at sundown to sit down and talk about shit. We decide to sit on the swings as we continue talking. Swings are right next to main entrance of park. Suddenly two beat up ass cars swerve into the parking lot really fast. We nope the hell out and start walking in the opposite direction. People getting out of cars. Hear somebody yell, "Get the hell back here." We start running full speed. What sounds like a small caliber handgun is going off behind us. We all hear shit whizzing by our heads. I see one of the bullets crash into the ground a few dozen feet in front of me. No idea how I'm still running at this point. My lungs are shit because of asthma, but the adrenaline is keeping me going. Running through a grass field that leads into a baseball field. Halfway through it, one of the cars peels out onto the road next to the park. Starts driving towards the field. Mother lover drives onto the field just as we're entering the baseball field. He drove sideways along the field as we bolted under a huge tree next to a 9-foot-tall fence. I guess he'd lost sight of us because he didn't drive to the fence. We lay down in the wet grass for 2 hours while they search the field and park with flashlights yelling for us to come out. Just after 11 o'clock they leave. We army crawl along the fence until we're out of the park. Walk back to his house. All equally freaked out. And that's the scariest shit that's ever happened to me.
Be 3 years old. Be an annoying naughty kid. My parents and grandma would sometimes find me standing against the wall. When asked why I was doing that, I would always respond that the man with the hat sitting in the stairs had punished me for being a bad boy. Obviously, there wasn't anybody in the stairs. Years later I found out that my grandfather had died in this house before I was born. He used to wear hats.
Another one, probably one of the most traumatic experiences I've had in my whole life. Be All Saints' Day night, 2 years ago. Halloween is not celebrated where I live. About 3 a.m. Suddenly wake up frightened as shit and jump out of my bed. My feet are not responding and I fall to the floor. I feel like something is holding them. Oh my god, nope. I crawl towards the door in absolute darkness and slam the latch until it opens. I burst into the bathroom hyperventilating and my dad comes out to see what's going on. It takes me some minutes to calm down and come to my senses. I return to bed, but I don't sleep a wink all night.
I've only ever posted this on /x/ once before and got a handful of replies. Be 12 years old, quite a few years ago. Have friends sleeping over. Wake up super early for some reason, 5 a.m. or so. Friend is sitting on other end of my bed facing me. Big window to my right, friend's left, is separated in two by a curtain, which is drawn into the middle to let in some light. Conversation stops for no apparent reason, we're both silent. Hear running footsteps from far away. Getting closer and closer. Some background knowledge, my childhood house is an old, one-story bungalow-type house, and this isn't the first or last time weird shit has happened. Running footsteps are so loud now. All of a sudden see black, shadowy figure flash past window next to me. Look at horrified friend. Neighbors' dogs start barking like crazy, howling and snarling all over the place. This is not their usual barking at someone going past on the street. Hear front fence rattling and dogs continue. Sit in silence for a few minutes, dogs eventually stop. Did you see that, anon friend? Yeah. What did you see? A pale white person thing just ran past. Shit our 12-year-old pants. When it gets lighter outside we go outside and check the path at the side of my house. The path was completely overgrown and undisturbed.
Get in car after grocery shopping to leave. Drive by this car near the back of the parking lot on my way to the exit. The only reason I look at it is because it's parked the completely wrong direction, covering 3 different parking spots. The first thing I see when I look at the car is a pale white face with large, black holes for eyes and a smooth, almost missing nose, think Voldemort, and an open mouth reflected in the driver's side mirror. Pic sort of related, but since the mirror was small all I could see was the face. I continue to move next to and past the car. Once I'm able to look into the car, all who is sitting there is a normal-looking middle-aged white lady and nothing else is in the car that looked like it could make that face in the mirror. I have no emotional reaction to it at first because of how shocking it was, but as I continue to drive away I freak out a little to myself because I felt a delayed wave of absolute fear. That's the only thing distinctly paranormal that I've actually seen my entire life. My mind was pretty distracted when it happened, too, so it caught me by complete surprise. I told this story to a few of my family members and my aunt suggested I could be seeing some sort of dark apparition of the woman's true self.
Wake up in the middle of the night. Room is extremely dark, but just light enough to make out vague details. Realize I can't move and am experiencing sleep paralysis. Slight bemusement. Trying to figure out how to move. Look across the room at closet doors, which appear like a giant dark square. Feel some kind of presence in the room. Increasing intensity of this feeling until I'm convinced someone is standing in front of the closet doors, hidden in the black square. Feel the presence moving slowly toward me, not walking, but almost sliding across the room toward me. As it approaches and leaves the doors behind, I can make out a human shape standing with its hands at its sides, just sliding toward me slowly. Look at its face, which despite the blackness seems to have 2 huge black abysses for eyes. I feel keenly aware that those eyes are infinite in depth and despair. Start shivering uncontrollably. Breaks the paralysis. I look down at my body and raise my arm. Look back to figure. Gone. Feeling of despair was instantly lifted.
This is my 3rd night posting my experience, hoping someone can help me understand what the hell I saw. I've never had a paranormal experience before or after this. Driving home from my GF's house at 3 a.m. About to go to an on-ramp for a bridge that I take regularly. Right before the on-ramp I see this very tall, extremely dark figure standing next to the road with its back facing the road. Looks like a hooded figure with its hands in its pockets. It appears to be 8 to 9 feet tall, and it was the darkest shade of black I've ever witnessed. It looked otherworldly, blacker than the night surrounding it. As I drive my car closer to it / past it, it has no reaction to my presence. When I'm close to it I consider honking my horn to see if it even moves. The closer I get to it, the greater the feeling of chills down my spine increases. I didn't honk my horn, I was scared shitless, no idea what I saw, never saw it again. What the hell was it, people? I'm still scared about it.
I've got an exploration story too. Be teenage. Break into an abandoned building with some friends. Everything's surprisingly clean, just the usual abandoned building stuff. No littering, no graffiti, no hobo roosts, no broken shit, nothing. Walk down a long hallway armed with rusty iron pipes we found. See a glass door. Locked. Look at each other surprised. Smash it open. End up in a big empty room. Huge grinning demon on the wall. Wow, that's some nice graffiti, we're not the first to be here after all. Inspect it closer. It isn't a sprayed graffiti, it's painted in acrylic color. Start feeling weird. Attempt to explore further. Walk in the hallway on the opposite side we came from, glass door. Locked. The only way into this room is the glass door we smashed before. Feel uneasy and leave.
Be me 16 at home. Decide to sleep in living room because cousins and my brother are over and they slept in room. Living room is isolated from parents and my room and right next to patio. Bored as hell watching TV, being lazy on the couch. Suddenly all light go out in an instant. All of a sudden I hear the loudest sound I have ever heard outside my patio window. It sounded exactly how those aliens from the War of the Worlds Mosi sound. So loud I swear my window was about to break. I crap my pants like a bitch. Run to my room. No one is awake, like they've heard nothing. Same for parents. What the hell? To this day I don't know what that was.
Nice. Similar things happened a lot in my childhood, though I only remember one occasion. Be 8 or 9. Screw around on the balcony. Climb on a chest to get a better view. Hear my grandpa telling me to step down. Step down and tell him something in response. Turn head around. He isn't there. Walk in. Grandpa is not to be found. Ask grandma where he went. He's getting some dog food, he'll be back soon.
This one took place in my mom's place, which was built in 1894, also on an old grave site, but never had anything too profound happen there. Just some fairly mild spooky stuff. Be about 8 years ago. Up late reading during a power outage. Decide it's time to take a piss and go to bed. Open my bedroom door. 3 medium-sized spirit orbs fly out of the bathroom door about 18 inches in front of my face, race silently down the hall, and down the stairs. Decide I can hold my piss and shut the door. And then about 4 months after that. Get home from classes for the day. No one else is home. Step out of the car. Notice a weird drumming sound, sounds like it's coming from the house. Think nothing of it. We live across the street from a high school. Probably just the band percussion section practicing with the door open again. Drumming stops as soon as I put my hand on the gate of the fence. In fact, everything stops. No wind, no birds, nothing. Even our neighbor's obnoxious dogs aren't barking. Okay, kind of weird. Drumming starts again as soon as I put my hand on the doorknob of the back door. Definitely isn't coming from across the street. Stops again when I step inside. Again, dead silence. Search house to confirm no one else is there. No one. Decide to kill time by hooking up the Xbox and playing some Halo with the guys. Didn't have wireless internet yet, so had to feed my LAN cable through the floor into the basement where our router is.
The hole in the floor I use is more than big enough for a few cables. Maybe 5 to 6 inches in diameter. It's actually in a service panel for the plumbing in the next room. I can see pretty clearly into the basement while I'm feeding the cable down there. Once I have about 6 feet of cable down there, a large mass of light passes right next to the cable. The hell was that? Freak out and leave the house for a few hours. Investigate when I get home. Can't find any reasonable explanation for what I saw. There was nothing for any light to reflect off of, no lights are located near the hole, no way for a bright light such as a headlight to come through the basement windows. And quite frankly, it didn't look like a reflection. It looked like a glowing orb, roughly 3 feet across. No one else in my family has ever seen these things, though they don't think I'm crazy or lying. My sister did experience sleep paralysis on several occasions, though I don't really put much stock in that. A friend of mine used to complain that he would get cold in that house for no reason, but other than that, no apparitions or things flying off the walls or anything like that. I did experience some other weird things at my dad's house a few years later.